Say hello to everybody. We're very excited to have everybody here. We have some Yeshivah Flatbush seniors. Let's hear it for the seniors. We love them. They came on specifically. It's they're doing this they don't have to, and they're coming to learn Torah, and I'm very proud of them. And congratulations to them for their beautiful, beautiful year and the 4 years. All right, let's get rolling. Okay, I've got sheets as we always have. Very excited about learning Torah. It's a tremendous concept to learn Torah, and it's a wonderful thing to raise the spiritual elevation in the world, and learning Torah with you is even more exciting. Okay, so we're going to do some really exciting stuff today. I hope you guys are ready. I just need somebody to nod if you can hear me. Oh, do you hear me? Yes. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I want to talk about something that is very part of our life right now, and that is, here we go, share screen. Are you ready? I want to talk about, here we go. I want to talk about Sefirat HaOmer. There we go. I'm sure you can see that, right? Sefirat HaOmer is something that's happening right now in all our lives. Excellent question you might ask me. Is a woman chayav to do Sefirat HaOmer? Many rabbis say yes. Most rabbis say the women should count. Question is, should you make a bracha or not? But the counting is important. Well, the men do count. So I want to talk about two aspects of Sefirat HaOmer. One about the counting, and the second is, why do I have this tremendous forest all over my face as I'm talking to you? That'll be the second half. Okay, guys ready to learn? Here we go. Hopefully it's going to be exciting. What does it mean? Sefirat Omer. What does the word Omer mean? It sounds like an Israeli singer. What is Omer? So, first the mitzvah. Every evening from the second night of Pesach to the day before Shavuot, we count another day, right? Every night, we say the bracha, and we say this is how many days into the Omer. So we count 49 days, which is 7 weeks between these two holidays. This is known as Sefirat HaOmer, the counting of the Omer. Since it begins on the day when, here it goes, let's first explain, okay, what does the word Omer mean? Omer is a measurement, like in the man, if you remember, Omer la Gulgolet, whatever. If you don't remember, it's also okay. But the word Omer is a measurement. They brought a measurement of barley, was offered as a korban. You're going to say, barley as a korban, you're going to say to me? Yes. Of course, when I say the word korban, the first thing that comes to your mind is an animal. But there was something called the korban mincha. That's what it was called. I'm not going to go into the reasons why it's called mincha, but it was a flour korban, flour with O-U, F-L-O-U, not O-U kosher, F-L-O-U-R. That's a korban that was brought, and that was called the korban ha'omer, and it was brought on the second day of Passover, and then you count. Where does it say this? Is this some rabbinic situation someplace in Jiddiesville? No. This is a mitzvah in the Torah. And guess what, guys? It's in this week's parasha. Sick. Here we go. So now we do both learning and this week's parasha. Back to share. In this week's parasha, right here, in Vayikra, chapter 23, Torah says, Usifartem lachem, count. It says, count for yourself. Mimacharat Shabbat, from the day after the rest day, says Rashi. What rest day is that? On the day after the first day of Passover. You might want to ask why the Torah calls it Shabbat. That's another discussion, not now. So from the day after Passover, which is the second day of Passover, start counting from the day you bring the Omer HaTnufa. Tnufa is that they raised it. Here's the Omer. 7 weeks full shall you count. There it is. And you count ad until, you guys are following? Yeah? Mimacharat Shabbat, until 7 full weeks. Here Shabbat means 7 weeks. Tispiru chamishim yom, you count 50 days, and then you bring another korban mincha. That korban mincha, by the way, is called shtei alechem. So from the first flour korban, you count 50 days till the second flour korban. And when is that second flour korban? Ukratem be'etzem hayom hazeh. And you shall designate on that day, the 50 days after Pesach, Mikra Kodesh, a holy day, Komelechet Avodah Lo Tasu, You're not allowed to do work on that day, and it's beautiful. Does anybody know what day that is? That's called Shavuos. Shavuot. So there it is. The Torah is telling us a beautiful mitzvah. Ladies and gents, I am totally confused. I have 4 questions that I want to raise. Okay? Question number 1. I'm not here to question God. I'm here to understand. After Charlie Harari totally inspired me, I have to be very careful. He was great, by the way. First question. I don't understand the mitzvah. I understand sitting in a sukkah because of what happened to remember. I understand eating matzah. I understand eating maror. I understand Yom Kippur. I sort of understand tefillin. I basically understand mezuzah. Counting? What is this, like a first grade reader? God is teaching me how to count? Number 1, why is that important? Number 2, big question, guys. Why is it important for me today? We just learned that the counting of the Omer was based on the Korban Mincha in Pesach and the Korban Mincha Shavuot, right? Guys, do we do the Korbanot today? No. Is there a Beit HaMikdash today? No. We don't do almost anything that we do in the Beit HaMikdash today. We read about it, we learn about it, we pray about it, but we don't do the actual mitzvah. So what's the point of counting? Question number 2. Question number 3, I'm assuming you already probably asked it yourself. Is Shavuot an adopted holiday? It doesn't say anything about it. The section in this week's Parashah, you're going to hear it, the Parashah talks about all the holidays. So it starts with Pesach, and Pesach gets billboard, big time. Pesach, it's on the 15th of Nisan, it's going to the Pesach, and yada, yada, yada. And now, it doesn't even say the word Shavuot. Look, it doesn't say Chag Shavuot. It doesn't say Zman Matan Torah. And it doesn't even say the date. Oh my God, it doesn't say the date. It says count 50 days after Passover, and Yoah, it is a holiday. Why is Shavuot being hidden? 4th question I'm going to say, it happened to have bothered me for years. It's a quickie. There's something called, guys, Shomea Ke'oneh. We all do that. Shomea Ke'oneh means that the rabbis say that if one person says a bracha, right, says a prayer, and everybody else listens, and they have kavanah, they get the mitzvah. So, for example, Friday night kiddush, by raise of hands, I want to see any lady here who says the Friday night kiddush. Raise your hand. I don't see it. But you're chayav, you're obligated to say kiddush. So why are you not saying kiddush? What happens is a person in the family says the bracha, says the kiddush, you listen, and you're yotzeh. We all do that. The bracha on shofar, the chazan says, and we all listen and say amen. The bracha on Megillah, we all listen and say amen. And as a matter of fact, Rav Moshe Feinstein feels that that's a better way to do it. He uses a phrase called Birov Am Hadrat Melech. It's more respectful when one person says and we all answer amen. My question is, I don't know, ladies, gentlemen here probably will attest to this. When the men went to shul, and maybe the ladies, when they say Sfirat HaOmer, the rabbi says it, and then we say it. Because we don't do Shomea Ke'oneh and Sfirat HaOmer. We don't do the rabbi says it, and every answer is amen. Why? 4 questions. So we're going to get the answer. We need to get the answer because that's why we're here. And you're the best the best people to learn with. Here we go. All right. What Shavuot commemorates? The word Shavuot means weeks, right? It celebrates the completion, right? So at this point, this is the question that we're asking. The obvious question arises, isn't Sfirat HaOmer the counting of the days between Pesach and Shavuot? Right. It seems that the counting is right. So this is just asking the question that we asked, why isn't it why doesn't the Torah mention Shavuot? So you know that it has to be hidden somewhere in the Torah to explain. And how excited are we when we find the deep answers to things? You guys ready to get excited? Here we go. There is Omer and Shtei Halechem. Again, the Omer is the Korban Mincha that was brought on at the beginning, Pesach, second day Pesach, and Shtei Halechem is the Shavuot. There are certain similarities between these 2 korbanot. Both are grain offerings. We discussed that, right? which are incumbent upon the community to bring. It's a community korban. By the way, it's a korban that only one was brought for everybody. In contrast to other korbanot, they can only be brought from the grain that grew in Eretz Yisrael. Excellent. Let's get ready. Here we go. Aside from these similarities, there are certain stark differences between them. The Korban HaOmer, the one brought on the second day of Passover, guys, is brought from barley, in deviation from the usual practice of offering, which is wheat in instances of grain. The Shtei HaLechem was made of wheat. All right. So you're looking at me like, okay, you're boring me. This is like a Channel 13 show. Who cares? What's the difference? If it's brought from barley, if it's brought from wheat, what's the difference? But you know, and I know, that when something is different, there has to be a reason. Let's see. So the first korban, Sfirat Omer, the Omer one is brought from barley, and this is brought from wheat. What do you got to do, guys? What do? We got to Google. Okay, so let's Google barley. Is there another place in the Torah that has a korban mincha, right, a flour offering, that uses barley? Let's see. So what we're going to do is we're going to reference our reference sheet. And guess what? There is something called Isha Sota. I am assuming that most of us in the audience know this, the halacha or the story of Isha Sota. That, by the way, Isha Sota in itself should be a full lesson, a full learning. And it will be, with God's help, ladies, maybe, and gentlemen, maybe in 2 weeks by Parshat Nassau, we'll be back in real live action without Zoom. But either way, that's where it is. Yeah. So for those who don't know a little bit, let's give it a background. Isha Sota is the Sota of the Bible, is a woman who secluded herself with a suspected adulterer, although her husband warned her not to do so. Okay, I have to give a little bit of slack here to the Torah. Isha Sota is not when a husband comes to the rabbi or to the Kohen and says, I don't trust my wife. Just that alone does not make her an Isha Sota. There is a prerequisite that first there were 2 witnesses that her husband warned her or told her not to be with this individual. And then there were 2 witnesses who saw her with this person going into a private place and being there long enough to play Monopoly. And therefore, what's missing here is that we don't have the actual test, we don't see anything, but circumstantial. What is the problem? The problem is, if she wished to remain married, I mean, obviously we know the problem, but halachically is, if she wished to remain married to her husband, she has to be, we have to know, because if, God forbid, she did something inappropriate, she can't be married to her husband. She is denying it, the husband doesn't know. So we bring her to the temple, we bring her to the Kohen, he gives her water to drink. Okay, I'm not going to go through the whole thing. It's a process of finding out the truth. You guys are with me? We're good? Now, guess what? In the process, there is a korban mincha brought. Vehevi ha'ish et ishto ala kohen. The man brings his wife. Vehevi et korbana aleha. And he brings a korban, not an animal korban. Asirit ha'efa. A 1/10 of an ephah, that's a measurement. Ready? Let's get excited. Kemach se'orim. Yeah. Barley flour. A reference to barley flour. So an Isha Sotas Korban comes from barley. Why? Is there a reason? Okay? Says Rashi. Kemach shelo yeh misolet. Should not be a fine flour. But se'orim. Somebody's calling. Give me a sec. But should be se'orim. Why? Since she acted, I'm sorry about this word, I'll get to it in a second. Since she acted like an animal, her offering is composed of animal feed. So, are you guys there? We're good? Mm-hmm. So, somebody's not muted, so mute yourself if you can, please. Can you guys mute, whoever it is? All right, so what do we learn from there? So all right, whoever's not muted, mute please, right? What do I learn from there? I actually looked this up. Look it up on the internet. When you look at barley, all right, I don't know who's on. That says, when it says...
Rabbi, you could mute everybody. You could hit mute
I did. Okay, I'll do it again. All right. Here we go. Okay, so we're good? So when you Google barley, you'll see one of the first things that comes up, it's animal food. It's livestock food. So let me explain what the Rashi is saying. We're not calling her an animal like you're an animal. Animals are very nice. People have beautiful, pets as animals. If not for animals, a lot of us wouldn't have certain things. And God created animals. Saying the word animal is not a terrible thing. But God created animals and He created humans. What's the difference between them? An animal is basically a physical living. That's what an animal does. It spends its time satisfying its physical existence. A human that God created has a neshama and is there to be spiritual. So again, I'm not trying to bash the woman in this case, but when a woman, if she did something inappropriate, she did something not spiritual, not what she's there for, therefore has a title of an animalistic type of existence. And therefore, kemach seorim, seor, seor, right, of barley, that represents animalistic. By the way, again, not for now, maybe in 3 weeks, there's so many indications of the process of Isha Sotah that show that a person is supposed to elevate the physical to the spiritual. For those who remember, do you remember where did they get the water from? Do you guys remember this from a couple of weeks ago? They get it from the basin, which was made for the mirrors of the woman. We'll get to that in 2 weeks. But that is, so the Kemach Seorim is part of it. Wow. Look what happens, guys, with one reference opens all of our questions. One reference. So Kemach Seorim indicates animalistic feelings. Watch now. Barley is generally considered to be a grain fit for livestock, as opposed to wheat, which is considered fit for humans. Thus, commentaries explain that we aren't just counting the days from Exodus, from Yetziat Mitzrayim, until the day we were given the Torah. Rather, these are meant to be days of refinement. Each one of these 49 days corresponds to another one of 49 drives and character traits. If you look at the Kabbalah, if you look at the Siddur, if you see some holy rabbis, each day of Sfirat HaOmer has a different midah, a different drive, a different character trait attached to it. Thus, we are commanded to start counting and refining ourselves from when the offering consists of barley was brought. From the onset of this spiritual journey, we are coarse and similar to an animal. By the end of our spiritual journey, we have refined ourselves, which means when we left Yetziat Mitzrayim, we were just slaves. We were slaves. We weren't classy people. We weren't refined people. We weren't up to spiritual. So Hashem said, start with the Korban Omer, which is barley, and then grow each day, make a higher and higher, until you get to the wheat korban in Shavuot. And that answers all 4 of our questions. So first of all, obviously now we know what God meant by counting, not just counting. Number 2, of course it applies to us, ladies and gentlemen. It's not something that only was then. It applies to all of us. You know why? Because Passover, Pesach, we celebrated freedom. True freedom is only if we're on the spiritual level. If somebody remains physical and is driven by physical drives only, they're not a free person. You're not. Physical drives are things that control us. Spirituality helps us overcome the physical drives. And therefore, of course, it's important to do Sfirat HaOmer today, just as important as it was to do it that time. Thirdly, why doesn't a person... remember the question that the rabbi should say it and then I don't have to say it? Not here, because this is a personal growth that you have to do. Each one of us has to count. It's not like one rabbi counts and I listen to him. It's not like saying Kiddush. It's me counting every day and growing. You guys, we're good? And then the 4th and the most important, God isn't hiding Shavuot. Do you know that Shavuot really is not a holiday in itself? You know what Shavuot is? It's the end of Pesach. The whole goal of Shavuot, from Pesach to Shavuot, is to count. We were freed. We have Yetziat Mitzrayim until we get to Shavuot, because Shavuot really is the culmination and the climax of Yetziat Mitzrayim, and therefore it doesn't say the holiday's name. All four answers, all four questions. We're good? I can't ask you to raise your hand if you have a question. Is everybody's good? I hope. Just give me a nod. Okay. Before we go to the second half, I'm going to throw out something that's a little, no, just wild, not terrible. You can disagree. It's a thought I had. I played around with the internet, and here we go. I hope you like it. You ready? Here we go. Okay. So the whole idea of Sefirat HaOmer is to refine ourselves, right? Okay. There's something called, in Hebrew, sapir. Does anybody know what sapir, besides an Israeli girl's name? It's a precious gem. Sapir v'yahalom. The Torah calls it, uses in describing a diamond, a special gem. Well, sapir obviously sounds very much like what in English? Sapphire. And I looked it up. A sapphire, perhaps derived from the word sapir. Interesting that sapir are similar letters to Sefirat HaOmer. So I played a little more with this, and then I found this site that talks about that each precious stone has certain characteristics. I don't know if anybody's into this stuff, but look how interesting this is. The sapphire, known as the wisdom stone, each color of sapphire brings its own particular wisdom. It releases mental tension, depression, unwanted thoughts, and spiritual confusion. Ladies, all tell your husband to bring you sapphires. Sapphire restores balance within the body, aligning the physical, mental, and spiritual planes, bringing serenity and peace of mind. Maybe. So clearly, it's a precious gem. So clearly, part of Sefirat HaOmer, the goal is to make myself shine, is to refine myself. And if you want to go into even deeper of what a sapphire itself has a specific characteristic, it's the refinement of moving out of physical into spiritual. Maybe that's why it's called Sephira. Interesting. It has a lot to do with what's happening today. Maybe it's just ironic, but last night, every night I listen to the news, and I don't know how they count, but last night's news anchor, Ingram, whatever her name is, on Fox News, counts every night. And she said last night she counted was the 50th day of the lockdown. Sefirat HaOmer. That's what she counted. Today is the 50th day of the lockdown. I know, it's crazy, right? So it got me thinking to share with you an article written by a rabbi called Rabbi Aaron Lopiansky, a brilliant man. I actually went to school with him in Yeshivah. He obviously is in very high level right now, very smart man. And he wrote an article in the Mishpacha magazine. I took little pieces because I didn't want to do the article. It's like 5 pages in connecting what we're saying to what he's saying. Here we go. Says this rabbi. This is just to introduce it, the picture. Wrote the rabbi. Please read with me. You don't have to read with me, just listen. And when it's all over, when Corona finally recedes, we will be different people. We will be very different, totally changed people. After weeks of not being able to enter a shul, we will enter with awe and trepidation, knowing that davening in a shul is a privilege. We will eagerly await the Chazarat Hashas, that's the Chazan, anticipating the opportunity to say Kedusha. We will wait for that Kaddish, so we can say Yehei Shmei Rabbah. We will understand the stresses our wives face at home and the challenges of our children. We will realize the debt of gratitude we owe their rabbis and their mechanchim, their teachers. We will understand what it means to be lonely and alone. And we will allocate time to reach out to the lowly, especially the less pleasant ones. That's what we're all saying. And he said a lot more. And we will do none of the above. What does that mean? What it means is, let's talk about human nature. Rav Tzadok HaKohen alludes to the same idea. That just like Yetziat Mitzrayim was a total and sudden break with the Jewish nation's past, so too, every person's first step toward change needs to be sudden and sharp. But after the initial directional shift, we must work slowly and methodically to become the person we need to be. Human nature. Part of Sefirat HaOmer is to teach the following lesson. Yetziat Mitzrayim. Wow. What a mind-blowing job. 10 makot. Kriyat Yam Suf. Did anybody ever doubt God's existence? Oh my God, we love you, God. Az Yashir Moshe, Vayaminu Bashem, Moshe Abdo. Guys, you know what happened 3 days after Kriyat Yam Suf? There was a scarcity of water, and it says they all complained. What do you mean they complained? How can they complain after the 10 makot in Yetziat Mitzrayim? Was that not a jarring, mind-blowing experience? Ladies and gentlemen, that is human nature. We go, I'm going to say this. We go to a funeral. We go to a tragedy. And we come home saying, oh, we're going to be better. And 3 days later, we're not better. All right, let's talk about something that's not so sad, but is so relevant. Not to most of you, to me. I'm starting my diet tomorrow. I can't close my shirt. I can't do it. I can't. I went to the store. I got to go to another size. That's it for about 2 days. It doesn't last. I go to a doctor. The doctor says, if you keep eating this, you're going to die in 6 months. Whoa. You go and you hand out. Right. A month later, you're back in the baker shop. That's human nature. Having a jarring, I don't know what word to use, a traumatic, I don't want a traumatic assume, having an impactful experience needs to be followed by slow growth. Every day, another day, a little bit, because nothing lasts forever in one shot. You can't. And that's Sefirat HaOmer, and that's what he's saying should be happening now. And when we're counting the days, instead of just counting the days, I know I'm not doing this myself, so I'm telling you to do it, so somebody's got to do it. Instead of just counting the days, oh my gosh, he said last night there were 50 days in lockdown. Every day, am I better today or am I not better today? What did I learn from this today? And he brings a beautiful pasuk. Guys, a lot of you in this audience say Tehillim, and I'm so proud of that, by the way. But look at this pasuk in Tehillim. We've said it so often, and I took it for granted. Even the pasuk I took for granted. Look, it depends on how we say, okay, let me just read this. It really depends on us. If we understand how a life-changing experience can change one's life, then it certainly can become that. But we need to make conscious decisions, small ones, and take realistically small but very consistent steps. This is the pasuk. Limnot Yameinu, you know this Tehillim, it's a very famous one. Limnot Yameinu Ken Hoda V'Navi Levav Chochma. English. Hashem, teach us the number of days so that we shall acquire our heart of wisdom. So I always thought, and to me it's a chidush, I don't want to be a little sad, but I always thought, God, we're asking God, tell us how many days we have left, and then I would, I don't know, straighten out my act. He says no. Hashem has taught us to count our days. If we know how to count our days, or if we make our days count, sorry for being so ill about that, then we attain a heart of wisdom. So that's the job now. I don't know how long this is going to be, but we need to count the days to make the small changes into a big change in our life. Everybody good? All right. Now, you guys, can you do more? Can you handle more? I hope so. All right. So we're moving now to the second half. So everybody sees what my face looks like. I'm sure that's very difficult for you. I'm sorry about that challenge. But there's a lot of stuff all over my face. I haven't shaved. Well, now I can't even go to the barber, but that's another issue. We don't take haircuts for the first 33 days of Sefirat HaOmer. There are no weddings. Where is this coming from, and what does it teach us? Here we go. Is it just, a historical concept? And that can't be. That can't be. We don't just do things because of history. So let's open up. There we go. Second half of our class. Why do we mourn during the weeks of the Omer count? So first, Everybody knows the very famous Gemara. The Talmud says that Rabbi Akiva had 24,000 students. You guys are good? 24,000 students who tragically died during the Omer period because they did not treat each other with sufficient respect. Therefore, for the 33 days from Pesach until Lag BaOmer, which is next week, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, we observe these signs of mourning. We have no weddings, no parties, no listening to instrumental music, no haircuts or shaving, and it is the famous line. I just want to see it in Hebrew. Kulam metu beperek echad mipnei shelo nahagu kavod ze lazeh. All right, so it was a very, are we muted? Yeah, okay. So it was a very, if somebody's not muted, so if they could mute themselves, that would be good. I'm trying to do it that way. We're good? Okay. So, you ready? Yeah. Okay. So there was a period of time, 33 days. On those 33 days, it was a terrible tragedy. Thousands of Talmidim and Rabbi Akiva passed away, and therefore we have these, these customs of mourning. What does it teach us? We're going to answer it with a solid question. Now, part of this I once did, but I'm going deeper today. But you got to stick with me because I'm going to try to do something that I hope I could explain well, but I think it's very important. Here we go. Are we ready? I have a solid question, and I found this question asked. If I say to your children or grandchildren, watch, I'm going to start a song. I'm going to start. Amar Rabbi Akiva. I don't hear anybody singing because you're muted. Right? Ve'ahavta l'reacha. Sorry about the song. Yes. These 24,000 scholars who were the students of Rabbi Akiva, the teacher who said, Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, loving another person is the most important principle in the Torah. How could it be that his students failed so gravely when it came to interpersonal realm? Which means, guys, we're not here to judge other people. We're studying history. And that's what we have to think about. Rabbi Akiva, the man of love, right? The love rabbi, the one who taught love. His students didn't have respect. Respect and love are two emotions that are interpersonal, that have been adam l'chaveiro. What happened? Ready? Here we go. So I would like to teach a basic concept that I think is so important in relationships. Looking closely at the Gemara, we see that it says they lacked respect. We need to understand how respect, kavod, and ahava, love, is different. Look what the Rambam says. The Rambam says a man has an obligation to love his wife, okay, that's nice, as much as himself. But when it comes to kavod, he has to respect her more than himself. What's the difference? Watch carefully. Love is the bond that is created between people based on what they have in common. Two people are compatible. Two people have similar, thought processes. They get married. The love grows. We enjoy those aspects of someone else which we connect with and we could relate to. Respect is the bond created between two people when they tolerate and celebrate the differences between them. And it is respect that is often more important in relationship than differences, which means, guys, it's an unbelievable thought. Love is love. But respect means, okay, Rini Manesh, I would unmute you. Respect, come on, respect. Respect is a compound word. Re means again, respect, look again. Understand the other person's opinion. That's what respect means. Have a dialogue, talk it out, but talking it out only when you understand the other person's perspective. It is possible that these students loved each other, but they had, again, I'm not bashing them, I'm just learning the Gemara. But maybe when the other person said something that they didn't like, or they didn't agree, or they didn't think halachically, they didn't respect that. And that's a problem. And that's a big problem. And that's a cause for mourning, because that destroys people. It destroys marriages and it destroys societies. I have to show you a great story that I read in this week's Mishpacha magazine. It's really beautiful. It's not hard. It's not emotional. So this week's Mishpacha magazine, they had an article about chaplains. You know, chaplains. You guys know what a chaplain is, right? The rabbi chaplains in the hospitals, you know, Rahmanut on them, Hazit, that they have some hard work now. But I want you to see this story. Ready? What does a chaplain need to do? Make a successful communicative connection. The formula for a successful connection is to meet the patient or family at their level. Rabbi Weiner says, a Jewish patient was about to die, and the family asked for a rabbi to perform the last rites, which is called vidui. A person is supposed to say vidui or somebody with the person before they pass away. Okay, we'll talk about it another time. But there's something to say. I entered the room, said the rabbi, and saw the family engrossed in a television show. He said, is this a good time, I asked, forcing down my disbelief? They answered, this is our father's favorite show, and he'd want us to see who wins before he dies, they told me. What did the rabbi do? I pulled up a chair and sat with them companionably until the show was over. We then said vidui, and he passed away shortly thereafter. Had I come across as judgmental, the patient probably would have died without vidui being said. This is such a telling story, which means the rabbi walks into the room. What's his goal? Guys, think. What's the goal? The goal is to say vidui with the person before he dies. What's in front of him? The other person's thought process is, can you imagine? They want to watch a television show with the father before he dies? As a rabbi, he's probably thinking, are you crazy? Like, where are you coming from? And that was his initial thought process. But then he's not going to get to his goal. He needs to understand and respect what's in their heads. In their heads, this is the most important thing. Now, obviously, if it's something that would be, anti-halacha, you can't say, oh, the guy wants not kosher. Okay, that's not what this is. He said, okay, I love it. Let's sit down. Let's see the show. And then he was able to say vidui. That's what respect means. I'm going to go a step further, and sometimes I say this for a long time, but I'm running out of time because I have a real lot to do. Not only is respect and love different, please listen to me carefully. Sometimes love destroys respect. Sometimes the more we love a person, the harder it is for me to respect that person. I have a lot of examples, but I'll do it short. Listen carefully to me. I find it easier to deal, I shouldn't say your children are perfect. Okay. I find it easier to deal with my students in Flatbush who have a problem than I would with my own children. Why? Because if a kid comes to me and there's something wrong, he's messing up, he's totally messing up, I will be able to sit back, here I am in my chair, the kid is across the table, and respect. I'm going to say, okay, Naftali Besser, get into the kid's mind, understand where he is, cut him some slack, like that, and then work it. But if it's my own kids, what? My own kids? It's because I love him, it's harder to respect. And that's not easy. I'm a rabbi, I want to make you religious. You're not Shomer Shabbat. Why do I want to make you Shomer Shabbat? Because I love you. So I go bananas when you have a party on Shabbat and deal in the summer. I go crazy. I didn't say allow it, but I say you have to understand where the people are coming from in order to deal with it. And therefore, relationships in family is where kavod is the most important. Here we go. All right, I'm going to try to get everything done, and we will try. And you guys are really good. See, no one saved anything. I asked my students if I could use mute even when they come to class. I thought that would be fantastic. Okay, here we go. Are you ready? So, yes, there is a kavod. There is a kavod commandment when it comes to family. Probably one of the most important relationships, besides, of course, husband, wife, children, and parents. In the Torah's world, one of the most important relationships is the ability for parents and children to have a relationship of respect so that our tradition can continue. You know the pasuk. There it is. Kabed et avicha ve'et imecha. There it is. It says kavod. And it also says ish imo va'aviv tirau. Fear and awe. Yes, there are two emotions, or two, whatever you want to call them, when it comes to relationship between parents and children. Two parts. One is honor your parents, of course, things that you should be doing, that's kavod, and revere your parents, yirah, that you should not be doing. Which means what I see this is yirah has to be there. Yirah, by the way, I know the word yirah to you means fear. We're not talking about fear that the parent is going to hit the kid. Like fear, awe. You're not. I always say the story that Rav Moshe Feinstein was one of the most awesome Gedolim, and I'll never forget. I was in camp. I was a younger kid. I was a very tall and large child. We're not going to talk the large part for now, but whatever it was. And the first time I saw Rav Moshe Feinstein coming out of his car, we had everybody singing and dancing, like we were in awe, like Rav Moshe Feinstein, and he was like 4'11". Okay, I must have had 6 inches on the guy. But it's not about being physically, scared of him. Whoa, it's my father, it's my grandfather, it's my grandmother, it's my mother. Okay. But the other relationship, guys, is kavod. There has to be an element where a mother and a father and a child can communicate. And the only way they can communicate is the ability. Because when two people are that close and there's that much love, if we don't throw the respect part in, it's not going to be a good relationship. Now, I know there are men on this class, but men, you have to understand that this is usually, you're always invited, please stay. But many times it's a woman's class. I got to throw the woman card in, you know what I'm saying? But here it goes. I said part of this in the summer. I hope nobody remembers, but if you did, here we go. I want to show you something fascinating. Ready? Obviously, here are the two psukim, right? And Ishimo v'aviv tirau. So besides the fact that one pasuk says kavod and one pasuk says yirah, there's a very famous other difference. And let's read it. Regarding honoring parents, the Torah mentions the father before the mother, right? Here it says kabed et avicha, and then it says imecha, right? And when it comes to fear, it says mother first. Ish imo v'aviv tirau, first the mother. Everybody knows by now nothing is random in the Torah. So why by kavod, which we just talked about, the father comes first, and why by fear, the mother comes first? And the Gemara answers it. Here we go, Gemara in Kiddushin. Ready? It was taught that Rabbi Yehuda said, I'll do the English, whose decree brought, that Hashem knows, that a son honors his mother more than his father. Here's the 2 words in Hebrew, I can't ignore it. Shemishidalto bidvarim, because she sways him with her words. She has that way of being able to communicate. But Hashem doesn't want it to be more the mother. So therefore, when it comes to kavod, the father first to try to work harder to get the father up there. And when it comes to yirah, usually a son would be, a child, would have more, fear or awe from his father. Therefore, he puts the mother first to make them equally. All right? Does everybody understand what I just said? Which means Hashem wants it even key, the same. But therefore, there's a natural, so listen to what Hashem said. There is a natural tendency for kavod from a mother because the mother has the power of speech. Because the power of speech is what respect needs. The ability to communicate what you're saying. I've said this hundreds of times. I've said it when there was senior parent day. I'm going to tell the story again very quickly. It was the first time I bought a car. I was like 21, I don't remember, 22, and my parents did not have a car, no cell phones. And my father asked me, can I borrow the car? I said, of course. They're going to a wedding in Muncie, and I took the train back from college. What's the difference? I come home, they're not home. They're supposed to be home like 12 o'clock, 12:30. Nada, they're not here. 12:45, 1 o'clock, not here. They didn't call. Again, no cell phone, but they were, what do you call that? What do you call those phones on the streets? I forgot already. Yeah, right, there we go. Nothing, right? I'm going crazy. Now, what's in my mind and what is feeding my craziness? My love for them, right? Clearly, that's what's coming from. So when they came in at like 1:45, You would think that when they came through the door, I said, I missed you, I loved you, I'm so happy to see you, because that was the real thing that I felt. Right? That's respect, right? That's respecting whatever reason it is. Let me respect the fact and say what I feel. I didn't. I screamed at them. Where are you? How can you do that? And of course, if you know the story that I said 1,000 times, the first thing that scared me was I realized that now I'm my mother, but that's another issue. But you understand that that's not respectful. That's not kavod. And therefore, a woman has that ability, I'm sorry, guys, naturally more than a man. And I'm going to prove it again. Here we go. Ready? Look at this. We just finished Passover. There were 4 children, right? The Chacham, the Rasha, the Tam, and they Yodei Lishol. And they know Yodei Lishol. It's a child who doesn't communicate well. That's a problem. Doesn't know how to communicate. Who's going to teach the kid how to communicate? Did you ever notice this? What does it say? At pitach lo. At. At is the female. The Baal Haggadah is saying a kid who doesn't know how to communicate, the best person to do this is the mother. You will speak to him and the mother can do this. You have a koach. This Gemara I once mentioned, I need to share this Gemara because women who hear this Gemara get upset about this Gemara. And they shouldn't get upset because it's misleading for those who think it's a negative thing. Are we ready? The Gemara in Kiddushin, check it out. Women are innately connected to the spoken word. According to the Talmud, here it goes, guys. 10 measures of speech, you actually laugh about it, descended to the world, and woman took 9 measures of speech. Did you hear that? Hashem gave 10 measures of speech. The man's got 1 measure. I think it's true in almost everybody's marriage, no? Okay. 1 measure, and they have 9. Thus, a Jewish woman has the potential to be a great communicator. This is not a joke, which means we're not saying women talk too much. We're saying that God gave the woman the ability of speech, the ability of communicating. It's so important. That's what we're doing during this 33 days. They had no kavod. They had the inability to bring the point across. So now all the women are standing there saying, see? Tell your husband, Rabbi says, we got it all. You do got it all. But there's a very famous movie called Spider-Man. I don't know if you saw Spider-Man, but Spider-Man introduced, in my humble opinion, one of the most important lines in Judaism. Ready? What did Spider-Man say? With great power comes great responsibility. Here we go. Her capability may be a source of either fulfillment or frustration, depending upon how it's cultivated. Improperly used, such a gift deteriorates into gossip and other unproductive or abusive talk. Because speech is so potent, the Jewish woman needs constantly to work on refining. Doesn't mean that the man doesn't have to work on it. So once again, these things that we do, I don't shave, we don't go to weddings. We can't just do this without it triggering an important midah and concept within us, because that's what Judaism is about. It's not just doing these things. It's doing these things and making us think. And if the Gemara says, Shelo nohagu kavod, it's kavod we need to work on during these days. That's what we have to work on. And it's important. Okay, I want to do 2 more things. I got 5 minutes. I want to share a story that Sufreda showed me. That's a great story. She got an email. It's just a beautiful story. It's just to show you, we're talking about Kibbutz Aveh. It's so beautiful. And then I want to show, if I have time, if you guys, I hope not in a rush, I just have a video, if you're all right. Here we go. Here's the story. It's a beautiful story. Please share the story with your kids. I'm not going to do the bottom. We'll do that next week before Lag BaOmer. Seder story. An older couple recently moved to a senior citizen residence in Lakewood to be next to their children. Sadly, the man was niftar. That means he passed away 2 years ago. The wife was grief-stricken. And the next few years was very difficult to her. Then this year she discovered that she would have to quarantine for Pesach. Inconceivable. Not to have her husband, and now not to be with any of her children. She had never spent a Yom Tov alone in her life. She was inconsolable. One of the neighbors found out about her distress. They called her up and told her, since their units are so close to each other, the family would happily move their dining room table next to her open window and have the Seder, and you will be with us. And so it happened. After the first days were over, the woman called her children, bubbling over with joy. She couldn't stop talking about what wonderful Sidurim she had enjoyed. The best part was all the songs they sang. This family, she says, has the same minhagim, custom, and the same nigunim, same songs of her late husband. And it brought her great comfort and happiness. Little did she know that this couple called each and every one of her children to hear and learn the songs of their late father. The sons sang and sent it over with recording messages, which the family memorized Seder night. How sick is that story? You know, I don't know silver linings, but there are beautiful things, as difficult as this life is happening, that are happening. Such a story. Their achnasat orchim. The children, share this story with your children. What is Kibud Av V'em can happen on a level today that's much higher. Of course, you can't hug them, you can't be with them, but there are things that can be done. Okay, I'm not going to do the Rabbi Akiva thing. We'll do that next week. I do want to show you a video. Peggy, can I announce it? Okay, next Wednesday's class is dedicated in memory of Daniel Chernikov. We would love to have you all with us. We will talk about him, about his midot, and we'll study Torah in his memory. And hopefully we'd love to see you. Okay, so in the beginning of our lesson, we talked about how every day is a step and that we can't just make a break. We have to change our life. I saw this video. Maybe you saw it. It's a rap. It's a slow rap, so don't get nervous if you're over 20. But it's all in rhyme and happens to be very good. And definitely show it to your kids, okay? Here we go. It's a video, and I hope you like it. Please let me find it. Here we go.
As we descend further into this downward spiral, we ask ourselves, what happens when the world goes viral? Panic is present. Collapse seems evident. Our heads swirl with a bevy of negative messages, from global financial deficits to the latest handshake etiquette, all the while worrying about the health of our relatives. But with no present hope for a vaccine, all we can do is obsess over keeping our hands clean and wondering when exactly we should self-quarantine. That 21st century sense of security was an illusion. Now the only thing worse than the fear is the confusion. Everyone's looking for a prophecy or a sign. Well, your guess is as good as mine. But I'd rather use this time of sobriety to reflect on what this says about our society. It might seem obvious, but we all share these feelings. We are not gods. We are mere human beings. And our vulnerability gets to the heart of it. We cannot conquer nature because we are a part of it. And now we are being forced to hide, to leave work or school and stay inside. And all this alone time might sound sickening. But well before this virus, we had gotten used to social distancing. We can't wait for that Netflix family drama to resume while ignoring our real family dinner in the next room. No interaction on trains except for rare nods, head down, separated by a phone and AirPods. Even visits from friends we no longer expect, now replaced by a call or more often, just a text. So perhaps after all this isolation we'll discover a new appreciation for spending time with one another. But by far the most important lesson in these hours is that no amount of wealth or powers, nor ivory towers, can protect me from a fate that is not mine, but ours. How far have we gotten? How close are we to the bottom that we needed a deadly disease to show us what we all have in common? Because we may no longer shake hands. We may hide with masks held by flimsy rubber bands. We may cancel flights from other lands. But finally, as one humanity, we stand. So I beg you, do not forget the unity we now feel against a common threat. It just may spark the change worldwide that could one day have us looking back with pride and say this was the moment we bridged the divide. But that future is up to you and me to decide.
Did you like it? It was very nice. Definitely share with the kids. I got it from aish.com videos. aish.com